the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be reviewing the last three matches from the IPL, starting today with Royal Challengers Bangalore. Well, unnecessarily difficult victory over KKR, let's be honest. Then go back to yesterday where the Sunrisers Hyderabad did a Sunrisers Hyderabad. Before we talk about the two new teams from the tournament, the Ahmedabad boys, Gujarat Titans, versus Lucknow Super Giants. I'm joined by Max Rowe-Brown. After our mega stint of commentary on Guerrilla Cricket, Max, I've been talking about the IPL for about the last 4 hours. This has been a great show for Ross Legg to turn up and pull his weight. But, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, he's at a Christmas party. A Christmas party, Max.
It's almost Easter. It's a good effort. Yeah.
It's pretty astonishing. But that's, I don't know, I guess the life of the Ross Leggs of this world, isn't it? It's Christmas parties all round. Max, we're going to talk about three pretty good games. I'm looking forward to eviscerating Sunrisers. Today, I still haven't really got my head around why that went to the last over. It did. And then, of course, we'll go back to the good game. And like, genuinely, one of my favourite IPL matches for ages. Gujarat v Lucknow. But before all of that, what do our listeners want to hear?
Well, the listeners, they want to hear the messages. As always, please head over to Instagram and Twitter at the Cricket Pod. Follow us there and like and subscribe on this video and our channel on YouTube to keep up with what's going on. We are sponsored by Serious Cricket. The clocks have gone forward in the UK, so the sun's creeping into the evening, so outdoor nets are upon us. Go and head over to Serious Cricket, Credit UK for 10% off all cricket equipment using the codes TCP22. And to support us, go over to patreon.com/the cricket pod, where you can get exclusive shows, IPL data. We've got an IPL fantasy league going, which I managed to drag myself back into contention.
I think I'm still second
by remembering to change my team. I had about 500 points to catch up on, and I did get about 400 or 500 yesterday, so that went quite well. But it slipped back a bit today, I think. But yeah, all of that good stuff. And should we mention our Guerrilla Cricket collab as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Every Wednesday, 2:00 UK time, we'll be doing an IPL roundup over on Guerrilla Cricket's channels, as well as doing match commentary. So if you're sick of Graham Swan, I know I am, you can get involved with what we're up to. And well, it's only once a week, isn't it? It's very difficult to get sick of somebody who's only doing something once a week, I always think, Max. We're gonna do today's show in reverse order to get that out of the way. I think we always do this, don't we? KKR v RCB. Max, have you got a 30-second summary?
Absolutely. So yes, KKR v RCB. KKR won their first game against the reigning champion CSK, getting their own back for the final. RCB lost at the end to Punjab Kings after falling to pieces at the death. Roles were switched. RCB won the toss and elected to chase, and they promptly ripped through the KKR top order. They not one batsman up until Andre Russell managed to get more than 20 runs, more than 15 runs even. It was a pretty poor effort from them. A very good effort, on the other hand, by Siraj, Akashdeep and Hasaranga, who took 4 for 20, and the meek total of 128 looked like it would be no problem for RCB, unless, of course, RCB elected to do an RCB, and they proceeded very much to do an RCB. They lost 3 wickets in the power play as well. David Willey came in at number 4, confusingly, and he and Shafane Rutherford tapped the ball around for ages, leaving them far more work to do than they should have done. But fortunately for them, Shahbaz Ahmed and the new man, DK, in the final over, managed to take Andre Russell for 10 runs and 2 deliveries to see them home. But yes, as you said, Jack, the fact that it went down to the final over was something of a surprise from where we were at the halfway stage.
Absolutely. Just while you were saying that, Gaurav on the YouTube joined up as a member. So Cheers, my man. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you're on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought of that match, all of that, because those interactions, they power the YouTube algorithm machine. That's not how
Yep.
they don't.
And they power us.
They don't power it. They power electricity powers that, but you know what I mean. Max, I broke my streak of wrong predictions today, which is
Just.
well, they gave me a little bit of a fright. The curse of Jack is real. Even when you're in absolute control of a match, it's very difficult to break the shackles of the curse of Jack Hope. And I think it really
Well, you are the cursed child, aren't you?
It was, well, very good. It was really an evidence today that I want to heap some praise on RCB, though. I know they got battered around by PBKS, the Punjab Kings, the other day, but I really thought their bowlers stood up and more than deserved the victory. I mean, their batting was terrible, and we can maybe get into that. But I think we need to say well done to Siraj, well done to Akashdeep for bowling, threatening deliveries in the power play, and to David Willey. I mean, he will be the lesser sung bowler in that lineup, but he was threatening. He was tight when he bowled, and then Hasaranga in the middle overs. I wasn't sure about him. I'm still not 100% sure about him, but the performance he delivered today was excellent. He had that googly really working, and it was clear that nobody on the KKR team was really comfortable against him and was really able to pick it. So that was top. And then the introduction of Harshal Patel with 2 wicket maidens is freakish. And in those 2 wicket maidens as well, he gets out 2 of the overseas batters for KKR. And maybe Billings isn't A-list, but Andre Russell, sure as shit, is A-list. So well done to him for a superb little spell there, and at one point actually on for the most economical spell in the history of the IPL. I think is it Ashish Nehra, 6 runs and off his 4 overs, and Harshal Patel took that until the final 3 balls of his spell before an edged 4 wrenched it away from him. But it looks like a really nice little bowling unit that RCB have got going there. That's my talking point. That's what I want to say.
Particularly in the power play, I think. I mean, we know what Harshal Patel did last year. Was it 32 wickets for the Purple Cap, taking wickets at the end? So they already had that option sewn up, I suppose. And this time round, the use of David Willey, just 2 overs up top. That's the way to use him. Batting him at 4 might not be the way to use him, but that's how you use him with the ball. He bowled really, really well, nice and tight, got a bit of shape on it. He was really difficult to get away. Akashdeep, he bowled really quick. He bowled the quickest ball of the day. I think it was 144 kilometers an hour was the quickest ball he bowled. I think it went for 4, but he fired it up. He looked dangerous, a bit expensive, but took 3 wickets. So, it's what he's in there to do in the power play. Siraj again brought it back from his questionable performance last time out, but we know what he's all about. So yeah, they're building a bit of a formidable lineup there. If you think about what they can do in the power play, and then bring that up with Hasaranga, if he continues to confound batsmen with his variations, they will be a difficult team, or they should be a difficult team to score runs off. Far apart from what happened with Punjab in the opening game. Obviously, they were a bit more wayward in that one. So
when he makes the ball
good signs for them.
When he makes a ball bounce, Hasaranga is the business. Probably a few too many balls that don't bounce for my liking, but whatever.
The Billings 6 in particular.
And I really like the role definition got going on as well. There's a few teams with some good bowlers. I'm actually thinking maybe of Rajasthan Royals. We'll talk about them in a bit here. We've got a good bowling attack, but it's a bit weighted towards one phase in the game. Harshal Patel, you don't even need him to. He could literally have his feet up until the 10th over, and then.
Well, he basically didn't he, today?
Yeah, you don't need him to do anything. Hasaranga doesn't have to bowl in the power play. He can take those middle overs where people are trying to knock it about and just put a bit of pressure on, maybe winkle out a wicket here or there. And Siraj and Willey. I mean, Siraj has turned into this pretty effective 2 up front, 2 at the death kind of bowler, and that's he wasn't that a few years ago. So well done to him. Throw in David. That's a bowling attack that's going to be pretty difficult. Should we talk about their batting?
Yeah, because for every good story, there is a less good story.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could talk about their batting in the same way that we talk about RCB's power play. Umesh and Tim Southey bowled really well up top, didn't they?
Yeah, and actually, if you wanted to, I just went through what I liked about RCB's bowling. What I can definitely tell you I don't like about KKR's is their death bowling. And it was always a possibility, I thought, that even if the... Pardon, just smashed my microphone off the desk there. Even if the pressure got a little bit, or you started to ratchet up, there was always going to be an over of Andre Russell or 2 overs of Andre Russell that they had to bowl at the death. And actually, because Andre Russell was bowling so badly, they went with 1 over of Venki Iyer and 1 over of Andre Russell at the death. And that is not good enough. Like, the RCB have built their team in a way that means they never have that situation. They will always have competent people to give the ball to. Now, they might fuck up every now and then. That does happen in cricket, doesn't it? But they're never going to have people who you would expect to underperform. And unfortunately, Andre Russell is that. And you know, they had to bowl out Umesh Yadav in the 15th over because he, similarly, is not who you want to be throwing the ball to at that phase in the game. There's a few people in the chat saying, "Ow, my ears," or "Am I all right, Jack? Are you all right, Jack?" Sorry about that, guys. That's my bad. Basically what I'm saying here is that KKR are a bit weighted to the early part of their innings and the middle phase of their innings with Chakravarti and Narayan. And don't get me wrong, it's a good bowling lineup. You know, Southey, Umesh Yadav, decent in the power play. Chakravarti and Narayan, decent in the power play. Both of them really decent in the middle overs. But it's you're going to go at 10 and over often, 10 plus and over often if you're KKR later in the game.
As a batting team facing KKR, you always feel that you can catch up.
It's happened twice in 2 games.
And facing RCB, you don't necessarily feel that way. And that's why it's key to think about how you put your side together. But as it proved today again.
What do you think of my Umesh Yadav shout for purple cap?
I like where you're going with it. I totally agree. Up in the power play, he's going to be a real force, but I do think, especially if he gets used like today, where he was bowled out earlier in games like that, you so many wickets get picked up at the end. Like if you think about someone like, obviously he's not going to because he hasn't been able to play, but someone like Ahisa Rabada, who goes for quite a lot of runs but picks up so many wickets at the end, caught on the boundary. I think he's just probably going to miss out on a few of those, but he'll be up there, I reckon. Yeah, maybe top 10. It's a reasonable shout.
I think so. It looks like they're going to keep bowling him 3 overs in the power play. I mean, it's interesting with KKR because I don't think they're utter pants. I think this game really exposed where they have some weaknesses. I think their batting lineup really wasn't up to the task. It wasn't up to the task. It's not underwhelming. They consistently weren't good enough in the situations they were in. They didn't read the game very well. Let's take Sam Billings. Let's hose the English player. It's easier for us. We get less flashback if we do that. He's batting with Andre Russell. They're in a situation. What do they have? 10 overs left. 9 overs left. Harshal Patel's just been introduced to the attack, and he's clearly not picking those slower balls very well. What Sam Billings needs to think there is that there's one way we get to a good score here, and it's Andre Russell scoring 70 runs in 30 balls. It's not Sam Billings doing anything. Sam Billings just needs to constantly be giving this man the strike and not using up dot balls and not getting himself out.
Which is good enough to do.
Yeah. And instead he tries to flat bat a short ball back down the ground, scoops a catch up in the air. Faf du Plessis says, "Thank you very much." Harshal Patel's like, "I cannot believe you're this stupid." And suddenly it's Andre Russell batting with the tail. And I think was it Sheldon Jackson for 1 ball or something like that.
Sheldon,
whatever it was, it might be the other way around. And it was like, well, that's just poor reading of the game. And when you're in that situation and you have a guy, and they flashed this up on the screen, it's unreal, isn't it? Andre Russell's career strike rate 178, next best, people with over 1,000 runs. Sehwag 155, 23 runs per 100 balls better. That's
huge.
Yeah, and you got yourself out and put the big boy Andre Russell in a hole that he couldn't dig himself out of. So that sort of thing's a problem, and the death bowling's a problem. But they did still nearly lose RCB. Do you want to Why did they nearly lose, and how did they win?
Well, there were two things. Firstly, they, as I said, they did a bit of an RCB. They fell apart in the power play, but like I said, that was as much good bowling by KKR as RCB bowling on the power play. KKR, we said, got a good power play bowling contingent. They made use of it. They did well. Where they really cocked up, and where you can put it on themselves, was whether it was partly the decision to put David Willey in at 4. I thought it was a bit confusing. It's not really his role, but even with how it went, him and Shafane Rutherford, they got stuck. There was the rebuilding phase. They seemed content just to try and nick quick singles for a few overs, which was fine. That's like, keep it ticking. But the problem was, A, David Willey not necessarily good enough to work the ball around and take easy singles, and B, they did it for too long when they were doing the drop and run, and it got to a point where you just think, okay, maybe you should try and kick on a bit. But they got themselves to a stage where they needed 7.5 and over, and had to be Shabazz Ahmed come in and dig them out of a bit of a hole, or use Andre Russell's over to hit a couple of boundaries, and that's where it changed, and where they sort of got on top. But yeah, even then, look at those strike rates. David Willey and Shane Rutherford, 64 and 70. That's even if you're behind the game and you're consolidating, that's not good enough. Like 100,
it was
100, 110, you can understand, but
I can't help but think they got their tactics wrong a little bit there, sending in Willey and Rutherford and keeping an actual batter like Dinesh Karthik on the bench. And I know,
they also ended up with 3 left-handers consecutively.
Yeah, and also not really giving Hasaranga any time to get himself in, who is probably, pound for pound, a better batter than David Willey. In terms of what you're saying there, we need 6.5 runs per over, which is a single, 3 out of 6 balls and over, 2 dots and a boundary. Hasaranga,
you can even do it with a 2, like work with 2s or something.
Yeah. I don't think David Willey can absolutely belt the ball, don't get me wrong, but that really is the only thing he can do. So as soon as there's a situation where wicket preservation becomes important, they would take.
Hasaranga often bats 4 or 5 for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple of suicide singles. One where David Willey aquaplaned in across the dew.
I mean, you got to give him full marks for the dive. It was a great effort.
Nice to see him play, though. I do think he's a decent T20 player. If I were them, I'd open with him or bat him 8. I think, or bat him maybe 7. He, in a very limited role, he is a pretty good batter, and he can definitely deliver value in the power play as well. Yeah. So, worth his place in the team, I think. For now,
and I think with the slight dilution of talent this year, he's probably worth a place in level.
But I think they used him kind of weird. I'm not sure about Rutherford either. I don't know. He didn't bowl, did he? What is he? What is Rutherford? Maybe we'll find out. I mean, we've said that about players before.
He'll be Glenn Maxwell soon.
Exactly. So, well, yes, he might actually literally be Glenn Maxwell. Max, it was a close game. It wasn't the most exciting game of all time. Are you happy with what we've discussed, or is there anything else you wanted to raise?
No, I'm happy with that. Good for RCB to get themselves over the line, get on the board, and I think we can move on to bashing SRH.
Before we do that, quick reminder to hit like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. We get lots of new people coming through here for our IPL roundups. We do this every Wednesday, Friday and Sunday, doing obviously the games in between. Might do a little preview here and there as well. So, join us. If you click those buttons, it sort of tells you for you.
Yeah. Click all of the buttons except the one that's a thumbs down. Don't do that one.
Although apparently the thumbs down, that YouTube also thinks that's a good interaction. So,
oh really?
Well, don't do it. I mean, let's not test that theory.
Don't test it.
Let's not test that theory. Max, yesterday SRH they played Rajasthan Royals. I thought SRH actually had a good team. I was wrong. Tell me more.
Yeah, SRH on the back of 4 teams out. On the back of 4 teams in a row, opting to field and chase. Successfully won the toss and opted to do the same. Unfortunately, they left themselves with rather too much to do, as Rajasthan's top 5 all smashed the ball around and powered their way to 210 in the face of some wayward bowling, some bad luck, a mixture of things. I think Umar Malik in particular may feel a little unlucky, but as it happened, if you bowl at 150 kilometers an hour and you get it slightly wrong, it's going to disappear pretty fast. On the other hand, Sunrisers, well, where did we see 210 runs coming from? Didn't think they'd do it, but they definitely weren't going to do it when they were 9 for 3 after 4.5 overs. That was curtains for them. And only Aidan Markram and some very impressive hitting from Washington Sundar, which I didn't know he had in his locker, brought them to, I'd say, a respectable score, but they still ended the game with a net run rate of over -3. So
it's not catastrophic, or as catastrophic as it's been. I mean, I think we
could have been looking at under 100.
Yeah. Yeah, we were, at one point, the all-time record, 146, was on. It was, incidentally, the worst power play in the history of the IPL, which is going some for a tournament that's 15 years old, or whatever it is. I can't believe how much they got wrong here. Let's start at the beginning with the no balls. Bowled 4 no balls in their first 4.5 overs in the power play.
One of which would have been the wicket of Jos Buttler.
Yep, who got 35 off 28. Butler would have been gone for 0 off 5 balls. It would have been a perfect start. It would have exposed Samson early or Devdutt Padikkal early. Instead, Jos Buttler gets a kind of handy-ish 35 off 28, gets himself into the tournament, puts KKR on an even keel. At the end of the power play, they were 58, no loss. I think a wicket fell straight after the power.
Yes.
It was a great power play for Rajasthan because of that overstep, basically. Having said that, Bhuvi Kumar did bowl pretty well. He was probably the only bowler I thought that genuinely impressive. What I thought was odd was that around him they went for kind of this weird selection of not particularly obvious power play options. So I thought here Romario Shepherd was looking good in the power play. Not the most well-rounded bowler of all time. I thought, this is a banker. Bowl 3 of Romario Shepherd now. You've got Umar Malik for your middle overs. He can bowl, let's say, 8, 10, 12 and 16 or something like that. Maybe you want to mix it up a little bit. Washington Sundar, maybe you give him an over in the power play. I think they did. It didn't work out, but it makes sense. And two from Kumar. I said they got Malik in, and like you were saying, Max, it was anything that doesn't get hit right at a fielder when you bowl that fast, and you have like literally no variations. So people are going to try and
power
hit
play,
it.
2 fielders.
Yeah, it's going to go for 4. He's the definition of a bowler. You bowl in the middle over, somebody who can take wickets but needs protection to not go around the park.
Yeah,
and instead he was bowled in the power play with no protection. He did nearly take a wicket, you know. But it did at one stage look like it was going to get ugly. 21 off his first, so he 18 for 2 in his 3 middle overs.
Just to illustrate your point so nicely.
That's on the bowling side. I don't think they've fielded particularly well. Abhishek Sharma came in, he went round the park.
That was a waste of time. I mean, it was tough for Washington Sundar because it did not turn for him at all. So he was just bowling like basically practice hit me as far as you can deliveries.
Yeah, but this is the problem if you go into a tournament pretty light on bowlers, but also bowling variation. Washington Sundar is a decent defensive bowler in the IPL, a guy with an economy rate under 7, not particularly threatening, but guys with an economy rate under 7, that's fine. That helps spread the load of your good bowlers a little bit. You can bowl them 7, 9, and 11, get 3 overs out of them there, and it's not sexy cricket, it's not threatening cricket, but mixed with the right people at the other end, Umar Malik at the other end or something like that, it probably works. Wasn't his day. I don't think you can blame Kane Williamson for when he necessarily got bowled. Apart from that, when he brought him back, I don't know. Maybe you can. He bungled up. He bungled who bowled when. Ended up having to bowl Washington Sundar too late in the innings. He went for even more runs. Damage was done. They're not. They don't. I mean, I think the point I'm driving at here, Max, is that although on paper I thought they might have enough bowlers, I think
they don't.
they're at least one bowling option light here. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. What's happened really? They've lost Rashid Khan, and they've not replaced him, and they've also got a very similar lineup to what they had last year. So it's not good. Basically, they've lost the best bowler in the world and not replaced him with. You either need the second best bowler in the world or like two other bowlers who could do a really good job, and that's not really happened. They're in a looking like they could be in a spot of bother. But if they get things right, if they mix things up a bit in terms of how they bowl people, if Imran Malik does bowl in the after the power play, maybe we'll see a different side of things. Again, Josh Buttler out of a no ball, but also dropped at slip off Imran Malik, changes things. So it's not. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna put the nails in the coffin just yet. But it's not a good start.
I think Bhuvaneshwar Kumar looked amazing.
Yeah,
like he looked. Well, I think his final over got hit a little bit right at the end.
Yeah, but he was he went for
it was like 15 off his first three. He's playing more or less an entirely different match to the rest of the jokers. Their batting, when it finally came to that, this is where it really goes wrong, isn't it? Chasing 210 on a wicket where it's. I'd say it was possible that you could get 210. Not likely. Not likely.
Definitely a good deck.
Maybe you've got a 1 in 5 chance. You definitely don't have a 1 in 5 chance if your two openers score 2 off 7 and 9 off 19. Then your number 3 comes in, doesn't score, faces 3 balls. Then your number 4 comes in. I don't really know why they did this. They blindfolded him. And they sent a man in a blindfold in to bat at number 4 in an IPL match. Can you explain that to me, Max?
No, it's madness, isn't it? Maybe
really stupid.
Nothing. Yeah, I don't get. Also, sort of like the organisation of who bowls when. I don't get Aiden Markram batting at 5.
No,
he needs to bat higher because he's not explosive, but he can be after he's in, and he showed that a bit. Ended up with 57 or 41, but started reasonably slowly. He's a guy who can build an innings. After losing those first couple, I'd have stuck him in higher. I was confused.
I thought Nicholas Pooran was actually going to cry when he was out. It was up there with the worst innings I've ever seen.
Good ball.
I mean, I don't know if you saw
classic Trent Boult.
The 7 consecutive mows across the line he'd had. the preceding delivery. I mean, at least he showed some intent. That the decision not to try and get Johnny Bairstow in that bidding war, dumb. Right now, even though he wouldn't have been able to play. I mean, Johnny Bairstow not being able to play would have been better than Nicholas Pooran here, is what I'm saying. Abhishek Sharma, I was excited to see him opening the batting. Not excited to see him do it again. Kane Williamson, to be fair, wasn't actually out. But I think the umpire was just like, I want to end this as soon as possible. So yeah, that was a little bit unlucky. And then Markram, Shepherd to a lesser extent, and Sundar to a big extent, give it this veneer of quasi-respectability. But they basically at no point after maybe the 6th over of the first innings looked like they'd be in a position to potentially contest this match.
No.
Almost everything they did went wrong, and almost all of their players look out of their depth.
I think in the preview we said that their target to win games will be keeping teams down to 160 and trying to chase it down. And as soon as that didn't look like it was the case, you'd never back them with that lineup to chase down 200.
No, and I under 160. To be honest, I think it's I don't know, it's a bit of a nightmare. I think our stream might have dropped out for like 2 seconds there. If it did, sorry about that. And we will carry on. One of the interesting things I wanted to say about this, this was looking at the IPL more generally. There was a lot of people have been saying that the IPL quality would dip this year, with of course extra players coming into the tournament, 22 extra men who weren't good enough to be in the tournament last year. I think what most people thought, or on the face of it, what you like logically should happen is those new 22 players get divided more or less equally between the 10 franchises. I don't know if that's what's happened. I think Sunrisers have ended up with more than their fair share of players that wouldn't have been in a team last year. And I think, having seen everyone now, seeing all 10 teams, I reckon there are 6 or 7 teams that would be competitive in an 8-team IPL, like last year's IPL. They're not appreciably worse. Maybe they're not as good as like the God squads that Mumbai put out 2 years ago. But they're teams that I think would be able to test the playoff places, at least not look completely clueless. Sunrisers, mate, I'm not sure they win matches in the T20 Blast or the Big Bash. I mean, I just don't see Kane Williamson as a top level T20 player. Abhishek Sharma, I think it's a huge leap of faith to think that he's good enough now, having seen what he did, to think that he might be an IPL quality opener. Rahul Tripathi, I'd stick by what I said before tournament. Still think he's good enough. Nicholas Puran's probably good enough. Probably just had a really bad
depends
day.
which Puran you get, doesn't it?
Yeah,
last year's
Puran, he's not by any stretch.
Enough.
He's not. If you only had, I don't think he's by any stretch one of the elite overseas players. I think he's like an okay wicketkeeper choice. They paid too much money for him, and he won't deliver that much. Markram, he's all right. Abdul Samad, I'm not loving that. I think he gets into some other teams. I don't think he's in most of the playoff teams though. Romario Shepherd, have a very hard time believing he's good enough. Washington Sundar wasn't playing for RCB in some matches last year. He got an injury, so that explains some of them. But they actually did drop him. Bhuvi Kumar, he's good. Natarajan, probably all right. Umran Malik, big work in progress, but eventually we assume he'll be good enough. But I'd still say a work in progress there. I don't know if he would play. Sure. I don't know if he would be a top 5 bowler for RCB, maybe. What do you think?
Well, thinking about what they put out today,
Harshal Patel,
probably not. Would it? It'd be between him and Akashdeep?
Yeah, maybe he beats Akashdeep. Yeah. Possibly. I think it's.
But no, I take your point. Like when he's probably their
third best bowler,
probably their second weapon, isn't he? Yeah, and we're talking about whether he gets into. No, I think you're right.
Amit Dubé did point out that I predicted SRH would win, and I'd take that back. I knew how bad they were. We did shows at how bad they were. They put out, I thought, with all of their guns playing, Natarajan and Bhuvi, the injury doubts, all of them available, that they'd maybe not be this bad, but they were.
If Bhuvi breaks down, it's disaster city, isn't it?
I think this team could lose 10 matches this year. I know we've only seen them once, and I know there's loads of variance in teams. And I know Australia looked awful against England and then won the World Cup like just 6 months ago. So all of these things could happen. Maybe they do go on a run.
Yeah, you watch him go and storm it.
But I also think they could like plumb new depths. They're below.
It's one to keep an eye on.
I was going to say average, but they're not average, are they? I don't know. They're very few average players in their team, and that's a problem. Their best players are average. I don't know. I don't want to label too much. Apart from Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I'm not sure any of those players would be on a potential list of players I'd want to pick up. And even Bhuvi Kumar, I'd only want him if he was really cheap. Poor Sunrisers. I can't believe we're doing this again.
Doesn't look good, does it? Yeah. Doesn't look good.
Can't believe we're there again. Would you like to say anything nice about Rajasthan Royals?
Yes, absolutely. Their top 5 were really good. I think if they lose a few early wickets, then they could be in trouble because I'm not sure they're going to be able to catch things up. But if their top 5 all fire, as we saw, they're going to be a real handful. Their only real evident weakness was Nathan Coulter-Nile. And he wasn't able to bowl the last over because he injured himself. And Ryan Parag came on to bowl the pointless last over. So maybe that's a blessing in disguise for them. Who knows? But the one I was most impressed with was Prasidh Krishna with the ball. Didn't know what we'd get out of him. He's obviously highly rated and has potential to be brilliant. Also has the potential to go around the park. But he looked good. I was impressed with him.
I was impressed with
Krishna. And Trent Bolt opening the bowling is a nice little partnership.
Hetmeyer was good. Hetmeyer kind of got overshadowed a little bit by Washington Sundar, but he was good. I don't love him as a player, and I'm happy to keep that on record. But I have to acknowledge he played a good innings there. And Sanju Samson, it was good to see him perform his traditional great opening night performance. So well batted.
Yeah, was that the 100 the 100 last year?
He
Was
got
that the
100
first
last
game?
year. I think he got 80 the year before or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think
as
we
well.
were on the
So
way
it's,
back from an unnamed cricket company. That one, weren't we?
right, Max, anything else on this match? The only thing I'd say about Rajasthan Royals, and there's a lot of positives to take from it, they were playing Sunrisers. And Sunrisers,
Yeah, so
they went full Sunrisers.
let's reserve full judgment.
Anything else?
Nothing from
No.
me.
Right, final match then was the two new boys going head to head. This was a really great game. I love this match. Probably maybe not the closest, but one of my favourites so far. Just from just for all the good stuff that happened.
Such a lopsided pair of scorecards.
Go on, tell us about it.
Well, it was not only was it the new team derby, it was the Pandya derby as well. So it was all about which Pandya could bamboozle the other Pandya. It's a very poor attempt at getting a panda pun in. Managed Pandy on the other side as well, which someone pointed out earlier on comms. Pandya, double Pandya and Pandy. A real mouthful. But anyway, it all started off with Lucknow batting. And it all started off with KKR being out first ball, which made everyone on the cricket podcast laugh, no doubt. Mohammed Shami really doing the business with the new ball. He produced one of the great power play spells to really put some put the worries into the Lucknow side, but they came roaring back with a quite unexpected partnership, I would say, between Deepak Hooda and Ayush Badoni. The young man Ayush Badoni started slowly but really caught up as Deepak Hooda got going, and they propelled Lucknow with the help of Krunal Pandya at the end to what actually looked like a reasonably defendable total, given how there was a bit of juice with the new ball, and it looked like it could be a bit of a tricky one. And so it proved, as the Gujarat Titans innings also got off to a pretty bad start. Shubman Gill looked like he hadn't picked up a bat in 15 years, the way he batted. He looked all over the place. And Dusmantha Kamira bowled with real venom. He bowled quickly. He looked really good. Matthew Wade plodded around for ages. And they were well behind the rate, Gujarat Titans, for a while. And it looked pretty concerning for them. Well, it did. Yeah, it looked over halfway through. But Rahul Tewatia did a Rahul Tewatia.
You'd love to see it.
Oh, you love to see it. He reprised the role of Tewatia that he put in last season.
Against King Legend as well.
Against King Legend, looking like he didn't know how to bat, and then suddenly, just from nowhere, absolutely exploding. And he took it down to, 2 balls to spare in the end to see it home. But it was, it was just, like you said, a really, really good game. I would say, though, big turning point for me in that Gujarat Titans innings, I don't know if you agree, Jack, was the point at which, having got some really good mileage out of Deepak Hooda, 2 overs, he got another one. And that was when Tewatia went. And it just felt for me, when he turned to him for that 3rd over, I just thought, is this a good idea? Because...
Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah, it's easy to say that in hindsight.
There's an element of Captain Hindsight, yeah. I think what happened here, do you remember go back to the original Tewatia, when he had the original Tewatia completely on toast? I think maybe it was Bishnoi and Ashwin or it's like some combination of spinners at Sharjah, and Tewatia literally, like, he looked like a club cricketer, and a bad club cricketer, not a club cricketer. And then he brought on Sheldon Cottrell, and Sheldon Cottrell went for 30, 1 over. I don't quite. There was maybe a bit more of it maybe wasn't as exponential as that, the run scoring from Tewatia. But I think that after that, KKR was probably told that Tewatia can't really play spin, and you should use your spinners against him. The crucial thing here is, as you sort of point out, that Deepak Hooda is not like Ravi Bishnoi. He's not Murugan Ashwin.
No.
He's not... I don't want to say he's bad, but he's
good enough to get Matthew Wade out.
He's not good, is he? He's not even Krunal Pandya, to be honest, is he? The other spinner they've got going. It was definitely a huge error. There's no other way to describe it. King Legend got that massively wrong. I think it was sort of one of those pitches as well where once you found your timing against spinners, the ball came on quite nicely. So didn't Bishnoi get a little bit of tap the over after as well?
Yeah, so he went with 34 at the end, having been pretty unplayable for a while.
Yeah, and I think that sort of happened. Sometimes, the ball just goes soft at the right time as well for the batter and stops gripping. There's a few elements going on there. I think it's an absolute tragedy for him to have left Kamira with an over to spare, bearing in mind how good he was and that he bowls really, really fast and that you are actually...
He pushed one to 150.
Yeah, you are bowling at two. I mean, they're not bad players, Tewatia and Manohar, but in fact, neither of them bowled. They're in an IPL team more or less on the strength of their batting, so they're decent cricketers. They're not just going to be like, oh wow, fast man, I'm out.
Yeah,
but
potentially surprising that Tewatia didn't bowl, given how it was going for Varun Aaron. But
yeah,
and Hardik Pandya decided to bowl himself 4 overs.
So I think there is a big element of some poor captaincy from KL. Also hilarious that he gets a golden duck on debut for the franchise that he joins and makes pay. Who pay him 16 crore or something like that.
Most expensive golden duck in history.
It was just like, well, get what you pay for a little bit. I mean, he obviously is a good player, but just a stupid amount of money to feed.
He'll score 100 tomorrow.
To feed an ego that isn't necessarily. But there was loads more going on in this match. I did a tweet about this, and this doesn't cover everything. But we had Mohammad Shami, who needs so much credit for how he bowled in the first innings, picking up obviously KL Rahul with is it a platinum duck or a diamond duck? First
diamond.
Gets the diamond duck there. Then he bowls Quinton de Kock. Then he gets Manish Pandey out, and it's like, well, you've got out the best player on the opposition's team, their best overseas batter. And you've got out the anchor who could potentially rebuild this innings. It's like you've completely swept the deck with a lot of them, all inside 5 overs. What a fantastic start! Then we get the kind of twist. Bad Dhoni. We haven't even talked about bad Dhoni becoming good Dhoni. He was sort of plodding along like his bad Dhoni namesake, and then it all sort of clicked into gear. He's 22 years old, isn't he? This is his IPL debut. He's played a few matches in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. I want to say for Delhi. Could have got that one wrong. But I think he's only batted once. And I think he only got 8 in that match. So this is a guy with an average of 8 in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy who has been playing as a specialist fielder in most of the matches he's played. And I'm maybe not doing him enough credit here. Obviously, there's some talent. Something has happened in his career to make people go, oh, yes, he should be in the IPL. He comes in. It doesn't look like it's a great decision. You're thinking, why have they picked a guy called Bad Dhoni who's not even trying to get
know which end of the bat to hold.
He finishes for 54 or 41. It's not one of the all-time great innings, but it's good enough to give them a chance.
From where it was pretty good.
Deepak Hooda at the other end. You have to give immense credit to him as well, and it sort of does feel like game on. As well as this, we've got the kind of Hooda v Krunal Pandya subplot. They don't like each other very much. Are they going to be batting to each other? It turns out they weren't quite. You got Rashid Khan in the game. He's sort of flown under the radar in the first match with his new team. 27 for 1. Sort of business as usual, to be honest. Same vibes as the past. Then it turns around and they get a bowl, do Lucknow against the Titans. They clean up Gill with some amazing fast bowling. Matthew Wade is proving us right that he isn't good enough to be in the IPL. We're thinking we're very smug. I'd predicted that the Lucknow Super Giants were going to win. Hardik Pandya can't hit it off the square. He gets out to his brother. That's amazing.
That was the moment, wasn't it? That was the moment of the day.
It was just absolutely like.
Is that why he bowled 4 overs? Do you think because he wanted to get his brother out?
Maybe. It was just
because there was no reason for him to bowl 4 overs.
Absolutely,
other than to prove that he can.
Absolutely. Phenomenal scenes, really. I mean, there's just like this game going left, right, and centre, and we haven't even mentioned the kit that Lucknow are wearing. They're wearing a kit with scaly trousers and a scaly shirt because they want to look like a dragonfly.
I was thinking tuna.
That's what they were. Well, tuna. They do look like tuna, actually.
Yeah,
they do look like tuna. David Miller comes in. Ross has been slagging off David Miller for ages. Turns out he isn't that bad. or he wasn't that bad on this occasion. Killer Miller, the Killer Miller line came out on commentary. It just felt like pure IPL.
That was it, wasn't it? It just had everything. It was carnage. There were twists, there were turns, there were good debuts, there was personal subplots, family subplots. A last over finish. It's brilliant.
It goes to the last over, and I don't know how many. I can't remember exactly how many they needed. 8 off the last over, 9 off the last over, something like that. So an amount of runs that in theory could have led to a pretty exciting game. 10 maybe actually. And then this other thing, and a player that
it was 11 from the final over.
Another player I was really excited to see. I was so excited. I wrote a whole piece about him. Abhinav Manohar. He comes in and plays like this really sweet looking cameo. This left-hander. Is he left-handed? I can't remember. Maybe that's the other one. Maybe that's Tilak Farmer. Sorry, it's too much cricket. But basically, he plays a really handy knock. He gets 15 off 7 balls. Plays some tidy looking shots in there, coming in at number 7, a non-bowling number 7. I think it was 3.2 crore. It's a fair whack of money, and basically in the first game pays them back. I think Tewatia finishing 40 not out of 24, so non-bowling. Did any of this make sense? Why have they got a non-bowling 6 and 7?
Because they had a bowling number 4.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Hardik Pandya is pretty good, and if he wants to take on a bit more responsibility, fine. I don't think 33 of 28 does justice to his talent. But
no, I was surprised he batted so early.
Bad batting lineup. I actually thought they'd be pretty bad, but having seen it in action, and this is really one game bias here. So it's not. I don't know if this is actually what I think, or whether I just enjoyed the game so much that now I want it to be good. But Hardik Pandya, David Miller, Rahul Tewatia, Abhinav Manohar might not be that bad as a middle. It's a
good middle order. It's a good middle order, and it's a good finish. But if they were chasing 180, they wouldn't have won, because Shubman Gill, Matthew Wade, and Vijay Shankar's not good enough as a top 3.
I've not even mentioned it here. Vijay Shankar's playing, for crying out loud. Why is he? He's batting number 3. It's nobody can explain that to me.
It's a weird batting lineup. It's a really weird batting lineup. But it works.
It's really weird. The whole team is really weird. I mean, spent 9 crore on a non-bowling number 6.
I think their strategy
Lockie
was
Ferguson, we've not
get
mentioned
Rashid
it.
Khan and see what happens.
He bowled all of the fastest balls in the tournament, Ferguson. I think he has.
Did he?
I think it's 8 of the top 10 or something like that.
No, I mean, there was pace in that game.
It just completely
good.
That's what I want.
It was just a really fun game of cricket.
That is what I want from the IPL. I want 40 overs of entertainment, wild swings one way and the other. Gujarat have won it in the first 4 overs. Oh no, Lucknow posted a good score. Now Gujarat are on the mat. Tewatia and Miller, they can't hit it off the square. They're terrible against spin. And then the captain loses his mind, so he bowls a part-timer at the death. And he's going into orbit. And then just enough wickets fall to make you think, hello, maybe this is going to go back the other way and Killer Miller's out. I was so excited.
Yeah.
It
really wasn't one that you could watch in the background. That's for sure.
No, it really felt like the IPL was properly back with that. And I think the games we've seen so far, what have we seen? 6 matches now, a couple of iffy ones, but there's been 4 pretty fucking good matches. It's good to have you back, IPL. I'd say. Anything to wrap up this show? Do we have any questions in the chat or anything like that, or on Twitter?
I don't see any in the chat. Are you checking Twitter?
I'll bring Twitter up. But while I'm doing that, just a reminder, we're sponsored by Serious Cricket, seriouscricket.co.uk. Get 10% off your cricket equipment, TCP 22 for quid. No, it's I don't know where I'm going with that. That's what you need to do. Somebody sent us a message saying they bought some gloves this week. That's a good purchase. Gloves are important.
Oh, someone did ask you why you don't like Hetmyer. Is there any particular reason?
Yeah, I can explain that. I think it's really rare that players improve into the IPL. He is one of them, and that suggests to me that he is lucky. Like his record in international T20 cricket, he strikes at 118. His record in the CPL and I don't know whatever other leagues he plays in. Similarly, not awesome. I think like a sub 130 strike rate. No, he plays a slightly different role in the IPL. It's fair to say that I think his what he's doing is easier for him to probably get his head round than having to bat three, maybe. And maybe he isn't good enough to bat three, but he can swing the bat really hard. I think there's probably an element of luck involved there, though. And actually, I was watching the innings, I think his first two boundaries, one was a six that literally went over the boundary. It went a foot over the boundary at long off, and it's like you've not really timed that. 80% of the time you play a shot that you time that badly goes to that area, mid or long off catches it, and you're out for three. That occasion it goes for six. Bit lucky, There's a game of big swings. T20. It may have been the very next ball, he hits a ball straight to a fielder on the boundary. Dick to hit it for 4 runs. And I was like, well, that sort of, now he's got a strike rate of 300, and he's scored a 4 off someone's penis and hit a 6 that went for 6 by a foot to an area of the ground where there is almost always a fielder. So fair enough. His record is what it is in the IPL. I could be wrong. If he keeps doing it, I'll have to eat my words. I think there's maybe an element of luck involved, though. That's where I'm coming from there.
Well, I like his hat, so
cool. Look, he's got flair. I think it's always good to see people with flair, and like the other thing, people really enjoy watching him, don't they? So fair play. If you enjoy watching somebody, dig in. That's what we're here for, isn't it? We just talked about that Lucknow Super Giants Gujarat Titans game. I don't think either of those teams are really very good, to be honest. I think they have some pretty glaring errors or problems. I'd be surprised.
It was like a 3-2 Premier League relegation battle.
Yeah, I don't know about relegation battle, but maybe like.
Well, there's got to be something on the line for it, isn't there?
Yeah. So it was exciting. I don't think it was necessarily great, but that's not sort of really why we're here. That's what the playoffs are for. The first week of the IPL is all about Shimron Hetmeyer smashing sixes and me making bad predictions about teams I've got no idea about because I haven't seen them play. And new franchises coming in and brothers getting each other out. It's just
Well, speaking of which, Jack, maybe as one last thing, tomorrow, Lucknow versus Chennai.
Yes.
Where's your money?
Lucknow v Chennai. I think Lucknow are probably a slightly better team. I'll have a proper deep dive into that. If you want to see my prediction in the morning, at JackHope0 on Twitter, I'll plug myself there. I'll have a look through Crickmetric and weigh up the different phases and so on. But I think the Deepak Chahar miss just makes CSK so toothless with the ball that I think basically any score they post is chaseable. And I think they'll have a really hard time restricting an opposition that gets going. So I think teams are generally going to have quite good power plays against them. So that's sort of what I think. Not to say that they don't have some great individual talent in that side. We'll have Moeen Ali back, won't they? But I think Lucknow. I thought Lucknow were all right. I thought they were pretty good. Maybe a little bit unlucky to lose. I think they've got some good players. They just need a captain that is a little bit less KL Rahul or MS Dhoni. Yeah. You?
Well, I've got to back my boys, haven't I? I can't be impartial on this one. So hopefully I'll be able to return to our next podcast wearing my yellow. But I will anyway. Whatever happens, of course. But
cool.
Yeah.
And the other one?
KKR Punjab Kings. Yeah.
Punjab Kings, no doubt.
Yeah, I like Punjab for that one.
I'm not going to go into loads of detail on that, but I think sometimes it's as simple as saying they have 11 players that are better than the other teams.
It's at the Wanker Day again as well, so runs. Yeah.
I can't. I think that might be. That's about as extreme favourite as I think you get in T20 cricket. 70-30, I think.
Apart from any game involving Sunrisers.
Yeah, well, maybe. Anyway, should we wrap up?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us. Final reminder, at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Please hit subscribe and follow us on whichever platform you're on. The IPL is a super exciting time in the year for us. Our fan base grows and we want to share it with as many of you as possible. So do get involved and make us happy, make yourselves happy, all of that. We're doing shows Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, about 7 o'clock UK time. I can't remember what that is IST. Is it is 10:30 or 11:30? Or it's a bit late, but that's when the game finishes. Blame I don't know, Lalit Modi for probably coming up with a schedule in the first place 13 years ago. And serious cricket. Patreon, that was the last thing. Go in the show notes. Now, whack that Patreon button. From £4 a month, you can support the show. And it makes a huge difference to our ability to do good stuff. If you want, so people have been emailing us, being like, do bonus shows. Pay us, we will. Yeah. Gauntlet has been thrown. Max, anything from you? That's not probably the greatest ad, is it? Pay us or else.
My last words is thanks everyone for joining us, and yes, hopefully we will see you on Friday for the next two games. So enjoy those.